Maya Chen stood in front of her bathroom mirror, pulling her dark hair into a simple ponytail. The reflection staring back at her wore a plain gray sweater from Target and jeans she'd owned for 3 years. She grabbed her keys from the small kitchen counter of her studio apartment and headed out the door, the same routine she'd followed for years now. Today was different, though. Today was Victoria's birthday party, and Maya had a bad feeling twisting in her stomach that she couldn't quite shake. Victoria Sterling. Even thinking the full name felt weird. When they were kids, she was just Tori, the girl next door who'd sneak over to Maya's tiny backyard to share snacks and dreams. They'd lie on the grass for hours, pointing at clouds and talking about everything and nothing. Tori was the one who'd held Maya's hand on the first day of middle school when Maya's shoes had holes in them and her lunch was just crackers because her mom's paycheck hadn't come through. Yet? "Don't let them see you're scared," Tori had whispered back then. "We're a team, remember?" Maya smiled at the memory as she climbed into her 2010 Honda Civic. The car made a concerning rattling noise when she started it, but it ran, and that was enough. She'd learned a long time ago that enough was actually plenty. The drive to the Riverside Country Club took 40 minutes. Maya watched as the neighborhoods gradually shifted from modest homes to sprawling estates hidden behind iron gates. Her old Honda looked more out of place with every mile. When she finally pulled into the country club's parking lot, her car sat between a gleaming Mercedes and a Tesla like a joke with a punchline nobody wanted to hear. Maya sat there for a moment, hands still on the steering wheel. Through the windshield, she could see the main entrance where a doorman in a crisp uniform stood waiting. Everything about this place screamed money. From the perfectly manicured hedges, shaped like swans, to the fountain in the circular driveway, where actual crystal-clear water sparkled in the afternoon sun. She reached over to the passenger seat and picked up the gift she'd made for Tori. It was a scrapbook, carefully assembled over weeks of late nights. Inside were photos from their childhood, the two of them at the community pool, at their high school graduation, at the cheap diner where they'd celebrated every small victory with shared fries and milkshakes. Maya had written little notes beside each photo, memories that only the two of them would understand. The cover was decorated with pressed flowers from Tori's mother's garden, the same garden where they'd played as children. Taking a deep breath, Maya got out of the car. A valet approached, then seemed to reconsider, probably deciding her car wasn't worth the effort. She walked past him toward the entrance, clutching her homemade gift. The party was already in full swing when Maya entered the grand ballroom. Everything sparkled. The chandelier overhead, the champagne glasses, the jewelry on every wrist and neck. Women in designer dresses clustered in groups, their laughter high and practiced. Men in expensive suits discussed business deals and golf handicaps. A string quartet played softly in the corner, barely audible over the chatter. Maya spotted Tori immediately. She stood at the center of the largest group, wearing a dress that probably cost more than Maya's monthly rent. Her blonde hair was professionally styled, her makeup flawless, her smile bright and sharp as glass. She was laughing at something one of her friends had said, her hand resting possessively on the arm of her husband, Richard, a hedge fund manager with silver hair and an expression of permanent boredom. "Maya!" Tori's voice cut through the noise when she spotted her. But something in her tone made Maya freeze. It wasn't the warmth she remembered. It was the voice someone uses when they've spotted something amusing. Maya walked over, smile fixed on her face. "Happy birthday, Tori. Oh my God, you actually came." Tori air-kissed both her cheeks without actually touching her. "Everyone, this is Maya, my oldest friend. We grew up together in the old neighborhood." The way she said old neighborhood made it sound like a foreign country they'd both escaped from, though only one of them seemed to think escape was necessary. "I brought you something." Maya held out the scrapbook, suddenly very aware of how simple it looked compared to the pile of gift bags on the table behind them. Each one from stores Maya had only ever walked past. Tori took it with a puzzled expression, opening it briefly before her smile became fixed. "Oh, how sweet. Very handmade. You always were crafty." She set it aside quickly, on top of what looked like a gift certificate to a luxury spa. "You know, Maya, I have to say I admire how you've stayed so true to your roots." Still shopping at thrift stores, I see. The women around Tori giggled. Maya felt heat rising to her cheeks but kept her voice steady. I like finding unique pieces. That's one way to put it, one of Tori's friends chimed in, a woman with sharp cheekbones and sharper eyes. I think it's actually quite authentic. Very trendy right now, that whole poverty chic aesthetic. More laughter. Maya's jaw tightened. So what is it you do again, Maya? Another woman asked, her tone suggesting she already knew the answer wouldn't be impressive. Tori mentioned something about consulting? Something like that, Maya said vaguely. She'd learned to keep her answers short. How mysterious. Tori laughed, but there was an edge to it. Maya's always been very private about her work. I think she does freelance stuff online. Writing, maybe? Or those little surveys for pocket money. Nothing wrong with that, Richard said, though his tone suggested there was plenty wrong with it. Everyone's got to start somewhere. Start? Tori laughed again. Richard, she's been doing this for years. I keep telling her she needs to network more, get a real career going, but... She shrugged, as if Maya were a hopeless case. Maya felt something crack inside her chest. These were the kinds of comments she'd been enduring for months now, ever since Tori had gotten married and joined this world of country clubs and charity galas. But they'd been subtle before, little digs wrapped in concern. This was different. This was public humiliation dressed up as friendly teasing. Actually, I'm quite happy with my work, Maya said quietly. Of course you are. Tori patted her arm like she was consoling a child. And there's nothing wrong with being satisfied with a simple life. Not everyone needs to be ambitious. She turned to her friends. Maya's always been the type to be content with less. Even in high school, remember I told you? She never cared about nice things. It's not that I don't care, Maya started, but Tori was already talking over her. She still drives the same car from college. Can you imagine? I keep telling her, Maya, honey, at some point you need to invest in yourself. First impressions matter. Maybe she can't afford anything better, someone whispered. Not quite quietly enough. Tori heard and made a sympathetic face. Which is exactly why I've been trying to help. Maya, I've actually been meaning to talk to you about this. My housekeeper is getting too old for the heavy work and I need someone trustworthy. The pay is actually quite good and you'd get weekends off. I know it's not glamorous, but it's steady income, and honestly, it might be perfect for your situation. The words hung in the air like a slap. Around them, conversation had quieted. People were watching now, waiting to see how Maya would react. You want me to clean your house? Maya's voice came out flat, emotionless. I'm trying to help you, Tori said, and she actually sounded like she believed it. You're obviously struggling, and you're too proud to ask for assistance. That's admirable in its way, but Maya, we're not kids anymore. Pride doesn't pay bills. I'm offering you a real opportunity here. Something inside Maya went very still and very calm. She looked at Tori, really looked at her, and saw a stranger wearing her best friend's face. This woman who'd once shared her last dollar was now offering her a job scrubbing toilets, and she genuinely thought she was being generous. Thank you for the offer, Maya said softly. And thank you for the party. I hope you have a wonderful birthday. She turned to leave, and Tori grabbed her arm. Wait, you're not seriously offended, are you? Maya, come on. Don't be so sensitive. I'm not offended, Maya said, and it was true. She wasn't offended. She was done. I'm just tired. I think it's time for me to go. This is ridiculous. Tori's voice had gone sharp now, embarrassed in front of her friends. You're being dramatic over nothing. Where are you going to go? You don't have anyone else. Maya gently removed Tori's hand from her arm. Happy birthday, Victoria. She walked out of that ballroom with her head high, past the crystal chandeliers and champagne fountains, past the doorman and the perfect hedges. She got into her rattling Honda and drove away from the Riverside Country Club, and she didn't look back. That night, in her small apartment, Maya sat on her second-hand couch and pulled out her phone. She scrolled through years of text messages with Tori, years of coffee dates and shopping trips and late-night phone calls. She saw the exact moment things had started to change, right after Tori's engagement to Richard. The messages had gotten shorter, more superficial. The invitations had become performances rather than hangouts. Maya blocked the number. Then she walked to her bookshelf and picked up the framed photo sitting there. Two little girls with gap-toothed smiles, arms around each other, best friends forever. She looked at it for a long moment, remembering that feeling of unconditional friendship, before she placed it face down in a drawer. Her phone buzzed. A text from James, her financial advisor. Yacht delivery confirmed for next month. Mediterranean team ready when you are. Sure you want to leave? Maya typed back. More sure than ever. She sat in the quiet of her apartment, surrounded by simple furniture and plain walls, and felt lighter than she had in months. Tomorrow, she'd wake up, make coffee in her cheap coffee maker, and continue living the life she'd chosen, the life that made sense to her. And somewhere across town, Tori would wake up in her mansion, surrounded by people who only knew the surface of things, and she'd probably never understand what she'd really lost today. 2 months had passed since Tori's birthday party, and Maya hadn't heard a single word from her former best friend. No apology text, no concerned phone call, nothing. It was like 20 years of friendship had simply evaporated, and honestly, Maya felt relieved. The weight she'd been carrying for months, the constant need to downplay herself, to make herself smaller, had finally lifted. She woke up that Tuesday morning the same way she always did. Her alarm went off at 6, and she silenced it quickly, swinging her legs out of bed in the tiny studio apartment she'd called home for the past 4 years. The place was small, sure, but it was hers. A Murphy bed that folded into the wall, a kitchenette with barely enough counter space to make a sandwich, and a single window that looked out over a laundromat. Most people would have called it depressing. Maya called it peaceful. After her usual breakfast of oatmeal and coffee, she changed into comfortable clothes, another old sweater and jeans, and headed out. But instead of going to some office or coffee shop to work, Maya drove to the community center on 5th Street, the same one she'd been volunteering at every Tuesday and Thursday for the past 2 years. "Morning, Dr. Chen," called out Roberto, the center's director, as she walked through the doors. Maya smiled. "How many times do I have to tell you? Just Maya is fine. And how many times do I have to tell you that when someone earns a PhD, we're going to use it?" Roberto laughed, holding the door open for her. "The kids are already waiting in the computer lab." "Fair warning. Little Danny has been bouncing off the walls all morning, asking if you're going to teach them how to code games today." "Well, we are working on that animation project, so maybe," Maya said, making her way down the familiar hallway covered in children's artwork and community announcements. This was her favorite part of the week. Teaching coding to kids from low-income families, kids who reminded her so much of herself at that age, kids who had potential bursting out of them but no resources to nurture it. She'd started the program with her own money, bought all the computers herself, and never told anyone where the funding came from. What nobody at this community center knew, what almost nobody anywhere knew, was that Maya Chen had $340 million sitting in various investment accounts. 3 years ago, she'd sold her artificial intelligence startup, Aquasense AI, to a major tech corporation. The company had developed revolutionary algorithms for processing oceanic data, helping predict everything from tsunami patterns to sustainable fishing zones. She'd built it from her bedroom, grown it with a small team of brilliant engineers, and sold it for a number that still didn't feel real. But you wouldn't know any of that by looking at her life. Same small apartment, same old car, same simple clothes, because Maya had learned something important a long time ago. She'd grown up poor, really poor. The kind of poor where you wear shoes until your toes poke through, where cereal for dinner is a luxury, where the power gets shut off and you do homework by candlelight. Her mom had worked 3 jobs just to keep them afloat after her dad left. Maya remembered every hungry night, every cold winter, every moment of shame when other kids laughed at her worn-out backpack. That hunger had driven her. She'd earned a full scholarship to MIT, studied day and night, got her PhD in environmental engineering by 25, and started building her company. And when the money finally came, she'd made herself a promise. She would never forget what it felt like to have nothing. She would never become the kind of person who measured worth in dollar signs. She'd tested that promise once, and it had nearly destroyed her. His name was David, and she'd met him 6 months after the sale of her company went through. He was charming, attentive, and seemed to love everything about her. They dated for 8 months before Maya finally told him the truth about her wealth. She'd wanted to be sure he loved her for who she was, not what she had. The change had been instant. Suddenly, David had opinions about where she should live, what she should wear, how she should invest her money. He'd introduced her to his friends as my girlfriend, the millionaire, like it was her only defining feature. He'd proposed within weeks, already planning a wedding that cost more than most people's houses. When Maya had suggested something simpler, he'd looked at her like she was crazy. "What's the point of having money if you don't spend it?" he'd said. She'd broken off the engagement, and he'd shown his true colors, threatening to sue her for emotional damages and wasting his time. That's when Maya realized wealth didn't just attract people, it revealed them. It stripped away the masks and showed you exactly who someone really was underneath, so she'd made her choice. She would live simply, quietly, anonymously. She would use her money for things that mattered: funding research, supporting community programs, investing in sustainable technology. And she would keep her wealth hidden from everyone except her financial advisor and lawyer. That way, the people in her life would be there because they actually wanted to be, not because of what they could get from her. Even Tori hadn't known. For years, Maya had kept the secret, watching as their friendship slowly changed. She'd told herself that Tori was still the same girl from their childhood, just adapting to her new life. But that birthday party had finally shown Maya the truth. Tori hadn't changed because of money. She'd always had these values underneath. The wealth had just given her permission to show them. "Miss Maya, can you help me?" "My code isn't working." Danny's voice snapped her back to the present. She spent the next 2 hours working with the kids, troubleshooting code, encouraging creativity, watching their faces light up when they finally got their programs to run. This was real wealth, she thought. These moments, these connections. The look in a child's eyes when they realized they could create something from nothing but logic and imagination. After the class ended, Maya drove across town to her real office, a small, unmarked suite in a professional building. No company logo on the door, nothing to indicate what happened inside. Just a simple placard that read, Private Office 304. Inside, her financial advisor, James, was waiting, looking as exasperated as he always did during their meetings. "Maya, please, I'm begging you," he said before she'd even sat down. "At least buy a decent car. That Honda is going to fall apart any day now. You can afford literally any car in the world." "The Honda runs fine," Maya said, settling into her chair. "What's the update on the yacht?" James sighed, pulling up documents on his tablet. "The Meridian Promise is completed and ready for delivery. She's currently in Seattle, and they can have her down to the marina by next month. The crew you hired is assembled and waiting. The Mediterranean Research Station is fully staffed. Everything's ready for you to start this new chapter." He paused, studying her face. "Are you really doing this? Leaving everything behind?" "I'm not leaving everything behind," Maya said softly. "I'm moving toward something better. The Marine Conservation Project has been my dream for years. Now I finally get to live it. You could run it from here, you know. You don't have to actually live on the boat." "It's not a boat, James. It's a research vessel. And yes, I do have to be there. This project matters to me. The ocean is dying, and I have the resources to actually do something about it. Why would I sit in an apartment when I could be making a real difference?" James shook his head, smiling despite himself. "You know, most people who sell a company for your kind of money buy mansions and sports cars and private jets. You buy a research vessel and volunteer at community centers. You're the weirdest rich person I've ever met." "Good," Maya said. "Let's keep it that way." They spent the next hour going over logistics, signing papers, discussing the trust funds she'd set up for various charitable causes. Maya had it all planned out. The community center would keep receiving anonymous donations. The scholarships she'd funded for underprivileged students would continue. Her investments in clean energy and ocean conservation would keep growing. And she would finally get to do the work that actually excited her. Hands-on research, real science, making tangible change instead of just writing checks. As she was leaving, James called out, "Hey, Maya. For what it's worth, I think what you're doing is incredible. Most people with your wealth are just trying to figure out how to make more money. You're actually trying to fix things." Maya smiled. "Money's just a tool, James. It's what you build with it that matters. That evening, back in her apartment, Maya was packing when her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Heavy breathing, then a familiar voice, thick with tears. Maya, it's me. Please don't hang up. Tori. Maya's hand tightened around the phone. 2 months of silence, and now this. I know you blocked my number, Tori continued, words tumbling out fast like she was afraid Maya would disconnect. I had to call from Richard's phone. Please, Maya, I need to talk to you. I need to see you. It's important. Everything's falling apart, and I don't know what to do, and you're the only person I could think of who might what? Maya's voice came out colder than she intended. Who might still care enough to help me? Tori finished, her voice breaking. Please, can I see you? Just once. I'll explain everything. I'm sorry, Maya. I'm so sorry. I was terrible to you, and I know that, but I'm desperate. I'm losing everything. Maya closed her eyes, years of friendship warring with 2 months of clarity. Part of her wanted to hang up, to protect the peace she'd finally found. But another part, the part that remembered a 12-year-old girl sharing her lunch money, couldn't quite let go. Fine, she said finally. Tomorrow, 3 o'clock. Meet me at the marina. The marina? Why, take it or leave it, Tori. A pause. Okay, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'll be there. Maya hung up and stared at her phone for a long moment. Tomorrow, she thought. Tomorrow, everything would finally come into focus. Tomorrow, Tori would see exactly who Maya Chen really was, and they'd both find out if their friendship had ever been real at all. The morning sun was just starting to burn off the fog when Maya arrived at the Harborside Marina. She parked her Honda in the visitor lot, grabbed her messenger bag, and walked down toward the docks. The smell of salt water and diesel fuel filled the air, mixing with the cry of seagulls circling overhead. It was one of her favorite places in the city. Something about being near the water had always calmed her mind. Today was the day. After 3 years of planning, designing, and waiting, the Meridian Promise was finally arriving. Maya made her way down the main dock, nodding to familiar faces. She'd been coming here for months, quietly getting to know the people who worked at the marina. There was old Pete, who ran the fuel station, always ready with a terrible joke and a weather report. There was Carmen, who managed the harbormaster's office, a no-nonsense woman with a heart of gold. And there was Captain Rodriguez, the man she'd hired to run her vessel, a weathered sailor with 40 years of ocean experience and a passion for marine conservation that matched her own. Morning, Dr. Chen, Captain Rodriguez called out from where he stood on the dock, shading his eyes as he looked out toward the harbor entrance. Should be seeing her any minute now. The pilot boat radioed in 20 minutes ago. She's right on schedule. I still can't believe this is really happening, Maya admitted, coming to stand beside him. 3 years of planning, and it's all finally real. You and me both, the captain laughed. I've worked on a lot of vessels in my life, but nothing like what you've built. That onboard laboratory is something else. The equipment alone must have cost... He stopped himself, looking embarrassed. Sorry, none of my business. It's okay, Maya said with a small smile. Let's just say I believe in investing in things that matter. What Captain Rodriguez didn't know was that Maya had spent nearly $15 million on the Meridian Promise. It wasn't a luxury yacht in the traditional sense, no gold-plated fixtures or crystal chandeliers. Instead, every inch had been designed with purpose. State-of-the-art laboratories for studying water samples, equipment for tracking ocean currents and temperatures, underwater drones for exploring the seafloor, quarters for a crew of scientists and researchers. It was a floating research station built to help save the oceans. There she is, the captain breathed, pointing toward the harbor entrance. Maya's breath caught in her throat. The Meridian Promise was gliding through the morning mist like something out of a dream. 150 feet of sleek white hull, her name painted in elegant blue letters along the side. She wasn't the biggest vessel in the harbor, but she was beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with showing off. She was built for a purpose, and every line of her design showed it. As the yacht maneuvered toward its assigned slip, marina workers rushed to help with the lines. Maya stood back, watching the careful choreography of the docking procedure. Her heart was hammering in her chest. This was it. This was the beginning of the life she'd been planning for years. "Dr. Chen," a voice called from the vessel's deck. It was Lisa, her chief marine biologist, a woman with wild curly hair and infectious enthusiasm. "Come aboard. You have to see the lab now that everything's installed." Maya climbed the gangway, her worn sneakers squeaking on the polished deck. The crew was all there. Lisa, 2 other scientists, an engineer, and the support staff. They'd all been waiting for this moment as eagerly as she had. "Welcome home," Captain Rodriguez said softly as he stepped aboard behind her. Home. Yes, that's exactly what it felt like. For the next hour, Maya toured every inch of the vessel. The laboratories were perfect, equipped with everything they needed to analyze water samples, study marine life, and track environmental changes. The living quarters were comfortable but simple. The bridge was fitted with the latest navigation technology. Everything was exactly as she'd specified. "The Mediterranean team is ready and waiting," Lisa was explaining as they stood in the main lab. "We've got partnerships with research stations in Greece, Italy, and Turkey. The coral restoration project is approved. The plastic collection initiative has funding for the next 5 years. Dr. Chen, we're actually going to make a difference out there." Maya felt tears prickling at her eyes. This was why she'd kept her wealth hidden. This was why she lived simply, so that her money could go toward things like this: real work, real change, real impact on a world that desperately needed help. "I'm going to grab some paperwork from the office," she told the crew. "Take a break. We'll do the official launch celebration this afternoon." She headed back down the gangway and started walking toward the marina office. That's when she heard voices coming from the waterfront restaurant at the end of the dock. One of them made her stop cold. Tori. Maya checked her watch. It was only 11:30. Tori wasn't supposed to meet her until 3. What was she doing here so early? Curiosity got the better of her. Maya walked closer, staying out of sight behind a stack of cargo containers. Through the restaurant's large windows, she could see Tori sitting at a table with a man in an expensive suit. They were deep in conversation, and Tori looked desperate, gesturing wildly as she spoke. "You have to understand," Tori's voice carried through the open window. "The investment would be completely safe. My husband has connections, experience. We just need bridge financing until his new fund launches. $3 million would cover everything." The man looked uncomfortable. "Mrs. Sterling, I've already explained that our firm can't—" "Please," Tori interrupted. "I'll do anything. I can offer personal guarantees, collateral. Our house alone is worth—" "Your house that's currently in foreclosure proceedings?" the man said gently. "I'm sorry, but that's public record. Look, I understand you're in a difficult situation, but I can't help you." He stood up, leaving money on the table for his untouched coffee, and walked out. Tori sat there alone, her face crumbling. For a moment, she looked exactly like the girl Maya remembered. Scared, vulnerable, human. Then her expression hardened, and she pulled out her phone. Maya was about to walk away when Tori's voice stopped her again. "Yes, I need to leave a message for Maya Chen," Tori was saying into her phone. "This is Victoria Sterling. I'm calling about our meeting today. I wanted to confirm we're still on for 3 o'clock. It's really important. I need to talk to you about something." Her voice cracked. "Please don't let me down, Maya. You're all I have left." Maya's heart twisted. She thought about walking over there, revealing herself, getting this confrontation over with. But something held her back. In a few hours, the truth would come out anyway. Better to let it happen naturally. She turned to head back to the Meridian Promise when she nearly collided with Tori, who'd apparently left the restaurant through the side door. "Oh, I'm so sorry," Tori started, then her eyes widened. "Maya, what are you doing here?" Maya's mind raced. "I could ask you the same thing. Our meeting isn't until 3. I know, Tori's eyes were red-rimmed, her makeup smudged. She looked exhausted. I had another appointment nearby and thought I'd come early. Maybe grab lunch? She glanced around at the marina, at the boats, at everything except Maya's face. This is kind of a weird place to meet, though. Are you working here or something? Before Maya could answer, Tori's gaze landed on the Meridian Promise. Her mouth fell open. Oh my God, she breathed. Look at that yacht. It's incredible. That must cost. I can't even imagine. 50 million? More? She laughed, but it sounded bitter. Some people have everything, don't they? While the rest of us are just trying to survive. Maya said nothing, watching her former friend stare at the vessel with a mixture of envy and resentment. Are you here working on it? Tori asked, finally looking at Maya. Is that your job? Cleaning boats or whatever? Look, there's no shame in that. Honest work and all. I told you at my party. I remember what you told me at your party, Maya said quietly. Tori had the grace to look embarrassed. Right, yeah. Listen, about that. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. Maya, I was horrible to you. I know that. I was showing off in front of those people trying to prove something, and I took it out on you. That's actually part of what I wanted to talk to you about today. Part of it? Maya asked. Well, yes. I mean, I wanted to apologize, obviously, but also... Tori glanced back at the yacht, then at Maya. Things have been really hard lately. Richard's business is failing. We're losing everything. The house, the cars, all of it. I've been trying to get loans, find investors, anything. And I remembered... She paused, choosing her words carefully. I remembered that you always knew how to stretch a dollar. You've been living on basically nothing for years. I thought maybe you could give me some advice. Help me figure out how to survive on less? Maya almost laughed. After months of mockery about her simple lifestyle, now Tori wanted advice on living modestly? That's really why you wanted to meet? Maya asked. For budgeting tips? Not just that, Tori said quickly. I mean, I really do want to apologize and maybe try to fix things between us. I know I don't deserve it, but Maya, you're my oldest friend. The only real friend I've ever had. And now that I'm losing everything, I realize what actually matters. It's not the house or the clothes or any of that stuff. It's the people who've known you forever. The people who care about the real you. It might have been touching if Maya didn't see the calculation behind Tori's eyes. This wasn't about friendship. This was about desperation. Tori! A voice called out. Captain Rodriguez was walking toward them. Dr. Chen, the harbor master needs your signature on some documents. Tori looked confused. Dr. Chen? Who's... She looked at Maya, at the captain, back at Maya. Wait, why is he calling you that? Because that's her name, the captain said, clearly puzzled by the question. Dr. Maya Chen? Doctor? Tori's voice had gone up an octave. Maya, what is he talking about? You don't have a doctorate. You barely graduated college. You do freelance work online. Before Maya could respond, Carmen from the harbor office came jogging over. Dr. Chen, sorry to interrupt, but we need to finalize the insurance papers for the Meridian Promise. Also, the team from the Environmental Research Institute called. They want to confirm your arrival date in Greece. Tori was staring at Maya like she'd grown a second head. Environmental Research Institute? Insurance for... Her eyes darted to the massive yacht. No, that's not... You can't possibly... The Meridian Promise is mine, Maya said simply. I'm leaving for the Mediterranean next week to start a marine conservation project. But that would cost... Tori's face had gone pale. Millions! Tens of millions. You drive a Honda. You live in a studio apartment. You clip coupons, for God's sake. I like my Honda, Maya said. And I like my apartment. The coupons are just good sense. Why pay full price if you don't have to? A man in a business suit had walked up and was now standing at the edge of their conversation. He'd been looking at the yacht with interest, and his eyes lit up when he heard Maya's name. Excuse me, he said. Did you say Maya Chen? As in Maya Chen who founded Aquasense AI? Tori's head snapped toward Maya so fast it looked painful. The environmental tech company? The man continued, pulling out his phone. I remember when that sold, it was huge news in the tech world. $340 million, wasn't it? The algorithm you developed for processing oceanic data revolutionized climate research. He looked at Maya with something like awe. I'm sorry, I don't mean to intrude, but I'm a huge admirer of your work. What you did with that company, the way you prioritized environmental impact over pure profit, it's inspiring. The world seemed to slow down. Maya watched Tori's face cycle through confusion, shock, disbelief, and finally, understanding. 300? Tori's voice came out as a whisper. Million? Pleasure to meet you, Maya told the businessman politely, shaking his hand but keeping her eyes on Tori. If you'll excuse me, I need to handle some paperwork. But she didn't move. She stood there, watching her former best friend process the truth that had been hiding in plain sight for years. Tori's legs seemed to give out. She stumbled backward until she hit a wooden piling, grabbing onto it for support. Her face had gone from pale to flushed, her breathing coming in short gasps. Maya almost felt sorry for her. Almost. You... Tori started, then stopped. Started again. You sold a company for $340 million? 3 years ago, Maya confirmed. And you never told me? Tori's voice was rising now, drawing looks from people passing by on the dock. We were best friends. We talked every week. How could you not tell me something like that? Maya kept her voice calm. For exactly this reason, Tori, look at how you're reacting right now. Tori let out a sound that was half laugh, half sob. Maya, you let me believe you were broke. You let me feel sorry for you. God, at my party, I offered you a job cleaning my house, and you just stood there. Yes, I did, Maya said. And what does that tell you? That you were making a fool of me. No, Maya's voice was firm now. I was learning the truth about you. Tori fell silent, her chest heaving. Around them, the marina continued its normal rhythm. Boats bobbed in their slips, seagulls called overhead, workers moved cargo. But in this small bubble, everything had changed. I need to sit down, Tori said finally. Can we talk, please? Maya checked her watch. It was almost noon, and she still had paperwork to handle, but something in Tori's face made her nod. They walked to a bench overlooking the water, far enough from other people to have privacy. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Tori stared out at the boats, her hands twisting in her lap. Maya waited. She'd learned patience over the years. Good things and hard things both required it. When did you know? Tori asked finally. When did you figure out that I'd changed? I don't think you changed, Maya said carefully. I think you finally got the freedom to show who you really were. Tori flinched like she'd been slapped. That's not fair, isn't it? Tori, think about it. The moment you married Richard and got access to real money, everything shifted. Suddenly, my clothes weren't quirky, they were embarrassing. My car wasn't reliable, it was shameful. My choices to live simply weren't admirable, they were signs of failure. I was trying to help you. Were you? Maya turned to face her. Or were you trying to make yourself feel better by comparison? Because from where I was standing, it felt a lot like you needed me to be the poor friend so you could be the successful one. Tori's eyes filled with tears. I never meant... She wiped at her face roughly. Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe I did get caught up in all of it. The country club, the social circles, the competition. Richard's friends, their wives, everyone's always comparing. Who has the bigger house, the nicer car, the better vacation? It gets in your head. And yes, maybe it felt good to have someone in my life who I was doing better than. At least she was being honest now. Maya could respect that, even if it hurt to hear. But Maya, Tori continued, her voice breaking, if you'd just told me the truth about your money, none of this would have happened. We could have been equals. I wouldn't have said those things at my party. I wouldn't you? Maya interrupted. Tori, be honest with yourself. If I'd told you 3 years ago that I'd just sold my company for hundreds of millions, what would have happened to our friendship? We would have celebrated together. For how long? A day, a week, and then what? You would have started asking yourself why I was still living in my apartment, why I wasn't buying designer clothes. You would have thought I was being cheap, or that I was judging you for your choices. Every time we hung out, you would have been wondering why I wasn't paying for more things. And eventually... Maya paused, making sure Tori was listening. Eventually, you would have started asking me for money. That's not true. But Tori's protest sounded weak even to her own ears, isn't it? You're here right now, aren't you? You came to this meeting for a reason. Tori's face crumpled. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. and this time she didn't wipe them away. We're going to lose everything, Maya. The house goes into foreclosure next month. Richard's investors are suing him. We have debts we can't pay. I've been calling everyone I know, begging for loans, for help, for anything. And yes, when I found out about your money just now, my first thought was that maybe you could save us. There it was. The truth laid bare between them. How much do you need? Maya asked quietly. Tori looked up, hope flashing across her face. 3 million would cover everything. The house, the debts, give Richard enough to start over. I know it's a lot, but to you it's like, you have hundreds of millions. 3 million is nothing to you. Nothing? Maya repeated. Tori, do you have any idea how many families that 3 million could feed? How many kids could go to college? How much medical debt could be forgiven? $3 million is never nothing. But we're friends, Tori said desperately. We've known each other since we were kids. That has to mean something. It does mean something, Maya said. That's why I'm sitting here having this conversation instead of walking away. But let me ask you something. If our positions were reversed, if you had the money and I needed help, would you give it to me? Of course. Really? Even after I'd mocked you in public? Even after I'd treated you like you were worthless because of how you lived? Even after I'd offered you a job cleaning my house like you were some charity case? Tori opened her mouth, then closed it. The silence stretched between them like an ocean. I want to tell you a story, Maya said. About a year after I sold my company, I met someone. His name was David, and I thought he was wonderful. He was charming, funny, interested in my work. We dated for 8 months, and I never told him about the money. I wanted to make sure he loved me for me, not for my bank account. Tori was listening now, her tears drying on her cheeks. When I finally told him, Maya continued, everything changed overnight. Suddenly he had opinions about my apartment, my car, my clothes. He wanted me to move into a penthouse, buy luxury cars, invest in his friends' businesses. He proposed within 2 weeks, already planning a wedding that cost more than most people earn in a lifetime. And when I said I wanted something simpler, he looked at me like I was insane. What happened? Tori asked quietly. I broke it off, and he showed me exactly who he really was. He threatened to sue me, claimed I'd wasted his time, said he deserved compensation for the months he'd invested in our relationship. That's when I realized money doesn't change people. It just reveals them. It shows you what they really value, who they really are underneath all the pretending. Maya turned to face Tori fully now. Do you understand what I'm saying? I kept my money hidden because I needed to know who actually cared about Maya the person, not Maya the bank account. And what I learned about you, Tori, is that you don't value the things I value. You measure worth in dollar signs. You judge people by what they own instead of who they are. That's not fair, Tori protested weakly. Yes, it is, and you know it is. Think about that party, Tori. Really think about it. When you looked at me in my simple clothes with my handmade gift, what did you feel? Be honest. Tori was quiet for a long moment. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper. I felt embarrassed. Like you were reflecting badly on me in front of my friends. Because I looked poor? Yes. Not because I was rude or badly behaved or said anything wrong. Just because I didn't look rich enough to be worth knowing. Yes. Tori was crying again now, but these tears seemed different. Like something inside her was finally breaking open. Oh God, Maya, what kind of person have I become? Maya reached over and took her hand. It was an automatic gesture, muscle memory from 20 years of friendship. You became the person you thought you needed to be to fit into Richard's world. But Tori, was it worth it? Are you happy? No, Tori sobbed. I'm miserable. I spend all day trying to impress people I don't even like. I can't remember the last time I laughed, really laughed, like we used to. Everything's a competition. Everything's for show. And now it's all falling apart anyway, and I have nobody left. Nobody real. They sat there together, hands clasped, while Tori cried. Maya felt her own eyes burning with tears. This was the girl she remembered, the real Tori, buried under layers of pretense and fear. I'm going to tell you something, Maya said when Tori's crying had quieted. And I want you to really listen. I could write you a check right now for $3 million. It wouldn't even dent my accounts. I could save your house, pay off your debts, give Richard his fresh start. Hope blazed in Tori's eyes. But I'm not going to do that. The hope died as quickly as it had appeared. Why not? Because it wouldn't help you, Tori. It would just delay the inevitable. You and Richard would keep living the same way, making the same choices, chasing the same empty things. In 5 years, you'd be right back here needing more. The money wouldn't fix what's actually broken. Then what am I supposed to do? Tori's voice was desperate now. Just lose everything? Start over from nothing? Yes, Maya said simply. Exactly that. You're about to learn what I learned growing up poor, that you can survive with a lot less than you think. That your worth isn't determined by your zip code or your car or your clothes. That the things that actually matter, real friendships, meaningful work, genuine connections, those things don't cost money at all. Tori pulled her hand away. So you're just going to watch me fail? After everything we've been through? No, Maya said. I'm going to offer you something better than money. My marine conservation project needs an administrative coordinator, someone to handle logistics, communications, scheduling. It pays $65,000 a year. The job is based here in the city, so you wouldn't have to leave. It's honest work with real purpose. You'd be helping fund research that actually matters. Tori stared at her like she was speaking a foreign language. 65,000? Maya, that wouldn't even cover a month of our current expenses. Then you'd have to change your expenses, wouldn't you? Get a smaller place. Sell the luxury cars. Learn to live within your means. That's humiliating. Why? Maya asked. I live on less than that by choice. Is my life humiliating? That's different. You could afford more. And what's Richard going to do after the bankruptcy? Whatever job he finds, it won't be at hedge fund manager salary. You're going to have to adjust your lifestyle anyway. I'm offering you a chance to do it with purpose, with dignity, contributing to something meaningful. Tori was shaking her head, her face hardening. This is punishment. You're punishing me for how I treated you. No, Maya said sadly. I'm offering you an opportunity. But you're right that it's also a test. I need to know. Are you my friend because you care about me? Or because you need something from me? Will you work for an honest wage, doing meaningful work? Or will you only accept help if it looks like your old lifestyle? That's not fair. You're making me choose between my pride and our friendship. I'm making you choose between pretending and being real, between chasing status and finding purpose. Maya stood up, brushing off her jeans. I'm leaving for the Mediterranean in a week. If you want the job, email me your resume. If you don't, then I guess we both know where we stand. Wait! Tori grabbed her arm. What if I just need time? What if I need help right now, just to get through this crisis and then I'll change? Tori, Maya's voice was gentle but firm. I've spent 3 years quietly funding community programs, scholarships, research projects. I've helped hundreds of people, but I only help people who are ready to help themselves. Right now, you're not looking for help. You're looking for a rescue. There's a difference. She pulled a business card from her pocket and handed it to Tori. This is my email. Think about what I said. Really think about it. Not about the money you need, but about the person you want to be. Tori took the card with shaking hands. I can't believe you're really doing this. After everything we've been through, you're just walking away? I'm not walking away, Maya corrected. I'm setting a boundary, and I'm giving you a choice. The rest is up to you. She started walking back toward the Meridian Promise, her heart heavy but her mind clear. Behind her, she heard Tori call out one more time. Fine. I don't need you or your pity job. I'll find someone else to help me. Someone who actually cares. Maya kept walking. She didn't look back. That evening, as the sun set over the harbor, Maya stood on the deck of her yacht. The crew was celebrating below, music and laughter drifting up through the open hatches. Captain Rodriguez came up to join her, handing her a glass of sparkling water. Everything okay, Doc? You seem quiet. Just thinking, Maya said. About friendship. About what it means to really help someone. The woman from this afternoon? Yeah, we grew up together. She's going through a hard time. You offered her a job on the project? I did. She turned it down. Said it was beneath her. The captain was quiet for a moment. You know, I've worked for a lot of rich people in my life. Most of them throw money at problems, then feel like they've helped. But you try to give people something more valuable than money. You give them purpose. I try, Maya said. Doesn't always work. Can't save everyone, the captain said wisely. Some people have to save themselves. They stood in comfortable silence, watching the last light fade from the sky. Maya's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Tori must have gotten it from somewhere. You've changed, Maya. You used to care about people. Now you're just cold. Money ruined you. Maya read it twice, then deleted it. She wasn't cold. She was just finally warm enough to know the difference between real friendship and convenient fiction. 3 days later, the Meridian Promise left harbor. Maya stood at the rail, watching the city skyline shrink behind them. In her pocket was a photo, her and Tori at age 12, arms around each other, grinning at the camera. She'd carried it all this time, even after everything. As they passed the breakwater and headed into open ocean, Maya took out the photo one last time. She looked at it, really looked, at those 2 little girls who'd thought they'd be friends forever. Then she opened her hand and let the wind take it, watching it spiral away across the waves. Some friendships were meant to last a lifetime. Others were meant to teach you something and then let you go. She was finally learning to tell the difference. Ahead of them, the ocean stretched endless and blue, full of purpose and possibility. Behind them, the past grew smaller with every mile, and Maya, standing on the deck of her vessel with the wind in her hair and real work ahead of her, finally felt like she was exactly where she was meant to be. 6 months later, she received an email. No subject line, just 2 words. I'm sorry. It was from Tori. Maya stared at it for a long time. Then she archived it without responding. Maybe someday they'd talk again. Maybe Tori would find her way to something real. But that was Tori's journey now, not hers. Maya had oceans to save, research to conduct, and a life full of purpose to live. And that, she'd finally learned, was the truest kind of wealth there was.